Hi, I'm Thomas of the Electroscope Company, and I want to thank you today for purchasing the 301 electroscope. And I'd like to go over some of the features and functions of the electroscope. When you first take the 301 out of the box, I'd like to make sure that the seeker is near the housing. In other words, right here, make sure that it's slid back towards the housing of the instrument. And that's important. But once that is checked out, then you want to go over some of the features of the 301 to make sure that you have a little bit of an understanding so that when you're out in the field, you can use all the capabilities of the 301 and give yourself the best opportunity to make a recovery. Now, the first thing I'll do here is turn on the metering system. Now, I set my metering between 6.5 and 7. In the rear, on the right-hand side of the housing, you turn on the switch and make sure that the meter registers between 6.5 and 7. It's a good place to start. Now, your tuning may be different, so you'll have to adjust it once you learn to sweep and you start hitting some of your practice targets. Now, if the meter doesn't register, make sure that on the handle, there's a handle switch, make sure that it is clicked in. That activates the meter. Now, to control the meter, you'll use the discriminating knob right here on the right-hand side of the housing. By turning the knob, you can get the correct tuning and use it in your practice targets. You get an idea, where you want it set. I keep it set all the time between 6.5 or 7. I keep it set, and then I just go out and click it on. To the left of the discriminating knob is the tuning knob. Now, in the earlier models of the electroscope, we used to use the tuning knob. We turn it to the right and would open up, make it more sensitive, open up some more features of more metals and things like that. But in the newer models, a lot of our customers ask for more discrimination, so we build in discrimination right here in this tuning knob so that when you turn it to the right, you'll start eliminating some of the smaller targets. It's a nice feature. Here on the switching is the high and low sensitivity. Keep it in the low sensitivity to get started with. That's pushing it down or towards you. The center switch is for gold or silver, so whatever your target is, naturally you would set it for gold or silver. And the third switch is for the AV switch, is for the distance of the instrument. In other words, if I put it in the AV, I cut out the two side antennas and I'm operating just on my center antenna, which would cut down the range of the instrument. But to get started, I would keep it down and utilize the entire antenna system. The accessory switch in the back here, to get started, just turn it to the on position for right now. And you can also have it on the on position when you're using accessories. We can go over that later on, or it can be covered in your manual. Also, the button in the back is for checking your battery. See the strength of your batteries, and when you're using the battery, make sure that you use an alkaline battery. And that's what we recommend. It's where you're going to get the most out of your scope. Now on the handle, or the bottom of the handle, is the accessory jack. This is where you can put in your Series 1, Series 2 adjustable interface, plug up to a ground probe, and any other accessories that we might have with the 301. So this gives you a general idea of what you have on the instrument, some of the capabilities that you have with the instrument. So the next thing you do after you get the instrument, you get acquainted a little bit with some of the functions and features, is you have to get out in the field and start working on your sweep. Okay, I'd like to show you the proper sweeping technique for the 301 electroscope. And
We're out here in the field, and it's a good day today. It has a little wind. That's okay. I'll show you how to handle that wind, and I'll show you how to use the electroscope in the sweeping technique so you recognize a real good hit and how to zero in on that hit. So let's set it up first, and I'll show you how to set it up the way I would set it up in the field if I'm just going to go out and, for example, we're going to hunt for some silver targets today. So I'm going out and I'm going to set my electroscope in the silver mode. Push in the silver, switch up. I will keep my high sensitivity and low sensitivity. I'll keep my low sensitivity down for right now, and I'll keep my AB on, switch down. Now, I have the instrument turned on, put my accessory switch over to the left, have that in the on position, and I'll squeeze the trigger of the electroscope, and that'll bring us up to, I'm set at 7. I like to operate between 6.5, 7, 7.5. And I'll bring out the antenna system about 18 inches to get started. That's 18 inches from your seeker to the red tip on the antenna system. Now, it can be approximate. Now, I'll show you what you can do here to even get a little better action. I put a silver target out in front of me about 10 foot, about 30 degrees to my right. Now, first thing I'd like to see you do is learn to sweep. In learning to sweep, you'll face your target in the beginning. You'll face right at your target, and you'll bring the scope up with your arm in this position. Bring it in, tucked in a little bit towards the side, like this. Once you have it like this here, you'll want to be able to balance the instrument, so tip it at about a 5-degree angle. That'll put a little drag on it, but don't do this, and don't keep it up like this, and don't try to keep it completely level. Just take about 5 degrees. Kind of listen here what I'm showing you to get started. All right, bring your arm in to your body and bounce this up. Get used to bouncing it. See, I'm even moving a little bit to show you that it's not going on. You don't want to do this. When you're doing that, you're totally out of bounds. You don't have your feet set properly. And get yourself situated to where you can bounce the scope like this. I haven't moved anything. I haven't swept anything. I haven't done anything yet, but just trying to bounce the scope. All right, now that I feel good like that, don't take your hand or arm and stuff like that and go like this. That's not what you want to do. What you want to do is move the torso of your body. Now, I realize there's a lot of individuals out there that already know how to pick the scope up and use it. They have their own method of doing it. That's fine. If you're getting the results doing it a different way, do it your way, by all means. What I'm showing you here is for individuals that never use the scope, that's looking for that quick start to get going out there in the field. Okay, so I bring my arm up, keep it in my body. I can bounce it now. It's not going anywhere. And then what I do is I move my torso like this. I just turn my torso. And when I turn my torso, when it hits the target, you'll see that it repels a little bit. In other words, the instrument comes across, and then you'll see it repels. As I go back with my torso, the instrument pulls in towards the target. So let's do that again. Come down, got it out, 5 degrees, bring it across like that. Just move it, didn't do anything, didn't move my arm or anything, just move my body here. Move it across, it hits. When I come back, it locks. Okay, that's one method. In order to get good with the scope, you should repeat that as often as necessary. It may take you a few days to really get a few times out in the field to really start getting good at it, but you'll see that it'll improve quickly and that you really become pretty proficient with it. Just, taking it out normally and using it. It's like a metal detector. Any metal detector that you get, you don't become proficient with it the first day you take it out, but as you start using it, as you start learning the proper usage of it, you become pretty good with it. Same thing here with the scope. This is, it just takes a little bit to get used to. So, as you bring it across like this and you hit it and you bring it back, it locks your target directly down the line. Directly down the line of the instrument, directly out towards the end, pointing of the antenna straight out in the distance is your target. And we use it, what I do a lot of times, I tell individuals, when you first go in the field, when you first get into this, get a practice target. Put it 30 degrees to your right. Get yourself off 30 degrees here. Now bring it across, do the same thing, and you'll see that you can't get the instrument to hang up over here. It'll want to stay right on that target, or it'll pull back on that target. Now I'm going to show you what a lot of individuals make a mistake in using the scope because they're not using a little patience here. As you bring the instrument across like that and you hit the target, just hold on to it. Even if you don't go back, you'll see it locks right in. It pulls right back in, just like a magnet. So instead of going like this, and then I'm going back with my torso and letting it lock in, I'm sweeping the instrument, just getting the hit. It's going to bounce off the target like that. I hold on to it. It will lock right in. Now, it might be a little slower or faster for you, and it may take a little bit of time to master it, but I'm sure that you'll do just fine just playing with the scope and learning the scope. All right. Now, I have my tuning knob here all the way to the left position, and I have my discrimination set. Now, in learning the discrimination of the instrument, or the metering of the instrument, you can try it at my setting between 6.5 and 7.5, and you will notice whether it hits strong like this or it's very weak and it just nips it a little bit. If you see just a little nipping of it and you pass it, or you come over here before it starts pulling back, that's a matter of adjusting your discrimination knob, which will be your tuning on the meter. So then you may have to change it, drop it to 5 or drop it to. I'll give you an example. I'm going to put it on 3, which is not really my tuning of the scope. I'm going to come across and look at this. I go all the way over to here before I have a hit. So I'm going to go back to 6.5. Here, I'll put it on 7. Back to 7. And it's really a little touchy, but take your time. Okay. And I'll bring it across, and now you can see the hits out over here on the edge of the field of my target. So tuning does play a big part in this, but you'll get used to it. You just, like I say, it's like a metal detector. You just have to take your time and learn what to do in certain situations. But for practice purposes, just get it so that you can get a hit. Don't even worry about the tuning so much. Just hit. And if it's hitting off a little bit, that's okay. Let it hit off. You'll learn how to tune it, bring it in, zero in on that target later on. But right now, let's just get that sweep down. Okay, let me show you my sweep. I don't always use it in like this when I sweep. I kind of use the sweep out a little bit. I use the open arm technique. Now, I'll tell you what, when you do this, it does play a little bit on your accuracy sometimes. But I guess through habit, I've been used to using it like this. And you'll see that I open my arm a little bit, and I sweep it. Now I'm using my arm. I'm not using my torso so much. See? I'm using my arm. And you can do that as you learn the instrument. I've seen individuals hold it out like this, use it. It's not the way I use it. I think it's a little bit uncomfortable at times, but I've seen individuals use it and use it successfully. When it's your scope, you can use it the way you want to use it. As long as you're getting some results, and that's what it's all about. All right. So anyways, I want to go over a little bit more with you, and then we're going to go out, and I'm going to show you some hunting with the 301. I've been saving this all winter long. It's beautiful out today. First time we had a chance to get out. We got something out here that we want to go after. It's for the last couple of years. We got the permission to get up here and go after it, and that's what we're going to do. And we'll take the 301 electroscope, and we'll give you a little bit of an idea how it can be used out in the field. Okay, I'm going to be sweeping my practice target, and as you can see, it's
hitting just before the target, and then when I hold on to it, it'll pull right in. And I'm going to leave it right there. I need to make a little bit of, now there I hit a little bit before, it'll pull right in. I need to make a little bit of an adjustment on it for tuning. But what I want to show you right now is the discrimination of the instrument. You go to the tuning knob, you turn it, I'm going to turn it all the way up. Then re-sweep the target, and you'll see that you go right past it. Now, obviously, this is treasure that's above ground, and it's a little bit different than treasure that's in the ground. Treasure that's in the ground is a lot hotter than something just laying on top of the ground. So I'm going to go back on my tuning all the way to the left, and bingo, it comes back in, just like that. So you can use this tuning knob, turn it all the way to the right, or any portion of it to the right. The further you go to the right, the more discrimination you have. You can use it in order to discriminate out smaller targets, for example. One last thing I'd like to go over with you here is the handle switch. You turn it off, down goes the meter, turn it on, up comes the meter to your tuning and discriminating setting. In the back where the handle's at is the jack, and there's your jack for your accessories. There's also one other thing I'd like to show you is the knob down here at the bottom is used for boxing. And then we'll go over the boxing method for you so you get a full and complete understanding. Now when you want to box a target with the 301, what you want to do is walk to the side of it. Get to the side of the area that you found. This is the area of interest. We have our target in here right now. You practice this with your targets at home, and here's what you do. You simply walk to the side of it, you balance it. Get used to walking with the instrument balanced. Just continually walk to the side, and you'll see that the instrument will swing towards the silver, and I have it set right now for silver, towards the silver or our target, our practice target. Let me do that again. I'll show you in a second. Keep it out in front of you like that. You can make the walk as long as you want, but I'm going to make it short for just this training purpose. And as you get either past the target or before the target, it's going to pull to your left. Now, how do I get right on the target, which is a couple feet back here? That's what this knob does on the bottom. It tunes the hit for the boxing. So if I was going to be out in the field and I wanted my boxing to be right on the money type of deal, or real close to it, what I would do is set down my practice target, tune up my scope like this, okay, I'm still going past it a little bit. Tune it a little bit more. There we go. I'm directly across from it. Now my boxing is tuned for this side of my practice target. Now, I would approach my target out in the field the same way as I do my practice target. In other words, if my target out in the field is over here to my left, I would set my practice target to my left, away from it, make sure that I'm tuned up, then go down and box my my real target, or the target I'm searching for, or my treasure. I would approach it the same way as I did my practice target. Now that's only one side. So once you get up here, and I've got this line right here, the next thing I would do is change my direction and start walking more or less like this, and I get a hit again. Now it doesn't have to be right on the target, because you have an area. That's what these instruments do. They get you into an area. They're not pinpointing instruments. So I have a line going across here, I have a line going down there, and that's why they call it the box, because what I'm going to do here is come down and get that shot going across, and
And then one more box to finish it off, making a complete box on my practice target here. And this is the general area where you want to work in. Now, the boxing method has its place. It doesn't have to be used all the time. And I'll be honest with you, I'm a sweep individual. I can pinpoint a lot of places I want to get with just using the sweeping method. But there is a time when I do use the boxing. I've used it on treasure hunts before when I had to. But I believe that the sweep is the number one weapon and the number one thing you want to know as far as knowledge with the scope to make you proficient, to get you in the area, to give you the best chance to find treasure. Okay, we made our way down here. This is live. We're right on the property. We made it down to a nice cleared area here. I'm going to clear this out a little bit. I want to take it as much as I possibly can through the whole routine of how to use the 301 or any of the electroscopes in a cache hunting situation. We found a few small caches out here. There's been treasure hunters out here before, and we know there's action out here. We've been chopping at the bit all winter to get back out here. And we got a pretty good lead here. We know the individual owns this property. The last individuals that lived here was back in 1953. They moved out of here, and we know we have even a little treasure map on how to get there. But it's back in. It's rough mountains. You just got to work your way back in. You're going to find treasure hunters up here all the time. But we've done the research. The individuals that know me personally and other treasure hunters know that that's the number one key to this business is research. You've got to know where to go in order to use your equipment. Now, I'll give you one hint here. If someone has found some treasure, you might want to keep your ears open on where they found treasure. This is kind of this situation here. Already found treasure there before. Already know that there's treasure here. Already have found treasure. This is getting tougher and tougher as you go back more, less and less you find. This is not big-time treasure. This is not the beetle treasure or anything like that. This is mom and pop, bread and butter type treasure that we're searching for here today. Therefore, I bring a deep seeking detector. It's not necessary for me to go in there with a tube box or a magnetometer or anything like that. What we're searching for, this is plenty. Remember this, with most individuals back in those days, during the Depression and things like that, they usually put it down, at least the ones I've found, not more than up to your elbow. They had to retrieve it. And a lot of times they put it pretty obvious too, pretty obvious places. But still, you've got to get into that area, and that's where the scope comes into play. It gives you a shot at it. And then you'll have to use your detector. Now, 100% honest with you, it could be gone. It could be nothing there. But, we got to go see. We have to find out. And one other thing I like to say to you is, you say, well, when you get to these old homesteads, sometimes there's coins. And the closer you get, the tougher it is sometimes, because there are silver coins and things laying around, and you may get on the wrong signal if you get too close. But from this distance, we're quite a ways out. We shouldn't have that interference, and our hits should be direct. It should be a good hit, and all we're going to follow here now is the scope. We don't have no maps as far as leading us down a trail or anything. We're going to use the scope to bring us in, and we're going to see where the scope is going to bring us. I got confidence. I've done this before. Done it on film a couple of times. I have a lot of confidence in my ability, although I'll be honest with you, it's been a couple of times, a lot of times, more than a couple of times, I've had to come back and do it 3, 4, 5, 6 times in order to get to the end result, whether it be successful or not. But anyways, we're going to take a shot here today. I'm going to get this cleared out a little bit so I can get some firm ground. Now, I could have done this before I turned on the camera, but I wanted to do everything live from start to finish. The two things that are absolutely 100% here is I got no idea of exactly where I'm going here, except following a scope lead, and two, that if the treasure is still there, or if there's a couple of treasures still there, it will be a treasure that's been buried. Okay. Now, take my knapsack and put my stuff in it. Make sure that you have all the things you need. Get my scope, and I'm going to take my first hit. Now, what's going to be tough here in this situation is getting some kind of triangulation. But I do see a spot over there, so I'm going to hit here, and then I'm going to go over there and take my second triangulation, and then I'm going to follow one of my leads on in, one of my hits on in. I get her out about 18 inches. I have it set up like I showed you earlier. And I bring it up. Now, let me just get relaxed for a second because I want to do it the way that I do it. Get myself comfortable. Bring it up to a sweep. Okay. All right. I got a decent hit. 3 times I hit it. I'm looking right down at a single tree down here. I'm lining my scope up on and using that as a direction. Now you could take a compass bearing, but I'm not going to get into all that because we're limited with the camera, batteries, time, the whole bit. All right, I feel pretty comfortable. If you notice, I went from right to left. Now I'll show you. You can bring it from left to right, but if you get a good hit coming from right to left or from left to right, and you practice and you feel pretty confident, pretty accurate, stay with what works. My comfort zone is from right to left, and then when I get it from right to left, I hit it, let it settle in. All right, that tree is a very good bearing going down through that tree. Now I'm going to get a triangulation here by moving down to the next area. Okay, I'm getting a hit, and the hit, instead of the hit crossing for my first cry, I can see my tree down in there that I had the hit going down through. But the second hit is way out in the distance, and I know if I'm using my scope that this target is out there quite a ways. How far, I have no idea, but it's out there quite a ways. This tree in front of me is where I'm hitting right here. It's taking me right on straight out there. So I'm going to kind of like use my scope to get me into the area. Now, you can use a compass. I just want to do this for my own satisfaction. I get a pleasure out of using my scope. I want to follow my scope. I want to see where we come out at and what's going on. So here I am, sweeping. Got a nice hit. And I'd like to say one other thing while I'm sweeping the scope, 301, and show you some of the things about it. When you're looking out into the distance on a scope like right now, you can't see the distance. All you just barely you get an idea. So what you'll have to do is when you sweep like this, if you're working in a wooded area, and that's all Pennsylvania, there's a lot of wood area. It's not all wooded area, but that's where you want to get back in. You're just going to have to follow that scope lead right on out. Now, what I've done in other treasure hunts is I followed one line of direction, and I followed a second line of direction, sometimes even a third line. So I could go down here and take another hit, another 50 feet, 60 feet down, another hit down below, and kind of like semicircle it to get everything going into this area like this. But we're time limited here on batteries and things like that. And it's going to take enough time to get into that area that I'm going at. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one single lead, and I'm going to take this one right here, and I'm going to follow it right straight on out and see where we come out at.